Greetings, Deep Dive Podcast listeners. This is your boy, Sam Orum, coming at you with another episode of the Deep Dive Podcast. How's everybody doing on this Thursday evening? Prayerfully, everything is going great with everyone. I tell you, it's been a busy week again. I know I say this every week, but it's been a busy week. Just trying to get everything going, not just with the podcast, but businesses, life in general. But how is everybody out there in the Deep Dive Podcast land? I want to thank all of you who are our continued listeners. Thank you so much for always supporting the Deep Dive Podcast. And those of you who are new, thank you as well for joining the Deep Dive Podcast. There would be no podcast if it weren't for individuals like you. So I thank you so very much. I continuously ask everybody to like the podcast, download the podcast, share the podcast, subscribe in any of the platforms that any of podcast platforms anywhere. Just make sure that you support the podcast. It's very important for so many reasons. It's been beneficial to so many people. I keep telling you guys I'm going to have guests on, but every time I take the topics, and I mentioned I take the topics from our Facebook group, but every time I take topics, they, and then when I'm talking about the people who are participating with the Facebook group, suggest that we do messages of empowerment. So we continue to do that. We still gonna have some more guests, and I believe it or not, guys, I'm already planning season 4 to probably kick off probably in January. So we're going to be taking a hiatus sometime soon. But man, it's just an incredible, the response that we've had from the podcast. People have been so empowered. People have started to let me know that they're identifying their purpose, which is important. And we just keep rolling along. So again, thank you guys so very much. I'll try not to be long on this particular episode. I really don't have any notes or anything. A lot of times when I sit down to do the podcast, believe it or not, right before the podcast, I'll just sit down and I'll look through some of the topics, like I said, that's submitted from the Facebook group or from any other platform. Sometimes people email directly to the website. By the way, the website is the deepdivepodcast.live. So I'll sit down and I'll look at some of the topics, and I'm like, okay, so this will be good for tonight. And then I'll just start speaking on that particular topic. One of the things that individuals were asking, this was previously, and by the way, sometimes we'll get a topic from a previous week, right, for the next episode, because we have to prepare and, get flyers and that kind of stuff out. But one of the topics that was asked last week that I'm going to talk about tonight is why me? Why me? And I think a lot of people are going through just mental challenges, man, to be honest with you. They're going through so many mental challenges. And so a lot of times, like I was about to say, I'll sit down with a topic and I'll just start talking. But this particular topic is like, it's difficult because when you say why me, one, is so broad. But then the other thing is coming up with a solution, because for me, and most of you who've been following the podcast, you know this to be true. I don't want to just offer challenges or problems, as people call them. I want to offer solutions. So when you ask the question, why me? And then I start to think about it, and I sat down tonight and just started thinking about why me. It's difficult to answer that question. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to give you two different notions. One, answering that question with why you feel that way. And then I think I'll be able to come up with some type of solution just based on, life's experiences, business experiences, whatever the case may be. Hopefully you'll be able to get some value from this. But when you're talking about, why me, individuals, when they say, why me? Well, one of the first things that come to my mind is I look around at the environment of the world. And I've said this time and time again, if there's such thing as, hell on earth, and I know hell is worse, but if there's a such thing as hell on earth, man, we got to be living it. It's just crazy out here. It is absolutely, I don't remember a period of time in my entire life where things were just so crazy, so chaotic. You add on top of all of the things that we've been dealing with, from the pandemic to the political unrest to the the economy and recessions and all of these things, and tribalism and all of these things that we've talked about. Now you add on top of this, the whole Israeli war in Israel and Hamas and all of these other things. And it's just so much. I challenged people. I challenged some people that I trust, right? This is funny. But I challenged some people that I trust their judgment, their mental acumen. I challenged them to find like 5 positive things that's going on around the globe or in one's life in the macro. When I mean the macro, I'm talking about the big picture. Just give me a bunch of things that's going on positive in the big picture, not the smaller things, because we can always come up, well, the sun is shining. Well, we know that. I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about the big picture things. What is it that's going on positive in the macro? And all of these astute minds were challenged to find something positive that's going on in the big picture. I'm like, man, that's deep. That's deep. When you got to think of 5 things that's positive, right? Well, what we have to do when you ask that question, why me? Look, we got to get stronger in our own persona. We have to get stronger in who we are. We have to get stronger in what we do, in our mindset. We have to totally get control of our lives. We can no longer depend on family, friends, or the federal government for our success. We have to be the ones. We really got to get stronger. So when you ask why me, then I'll turn that around and ask the question, why not you, right? But understanding that that's not an answer, let me just try to give you an answer. Let me paint some color for you first. A lot of times when people say, why me, they're looking at their lives from a standpoint of things being unfair to them. A person may be grappling with or challenging themselves with a sense of, some type of injustice. When you're looking at all the unrest, like I said, that's going on in the Israeli areas, Middle Eastern areas, just really all over the world. And people will start to just question a sense of injustice. Here, voter, what am I trying to say? Suppression, voter suppression. Why are people trying to suppress your vote? That's a sense of injustice that you're feeling, right? You remember when a few months ago or weeks ago, however long ago it was, in Montgomery, Alabama. That's my hometown, by the way. Shout out Montgomery. But do y'all remember there was an incident on the riverboat, Harriet Tubman 2? And these cats, white people, black people got into it, and people got hit over the head in chairs and all of that. And people had all these chairs and stuff, chair necklaces and chair memes and all that. You know why that was so, there's such an uproar with that whole thing? Is because there are people who feel a sense of injustice, and they're tired. People are tired of feeling that sense of injustice. People are tired of being suppressed. Why would you want to suppress my vote for your own political power, greedy, money, hungry reasons? Why would you want to do that? Why would you not want people to vote? Why would you not want these things to happen? Why would you try to redistrict Alabama, redistrict North Carolina, redistrict Louisiana, where black people don't have the same value in terms of voting as other people? Now, I'm not trying to make this a black and white situation. No, I'm not trying to do that at all. But if you're guilty, you're guilty. I don't care if you're black or white. And if you're white and you're offended, I don't care, right? My point is, people start to feel a sense of injustice, and then they start to ask that question, why me? They ain't doing anything. I'm not doing anything, right? So let's start to get people into that mindset of wondering, why do I have to endure this kind of situation while other people seem to have it easier? That's one of those why me questions. A lot of times a why me question becomes because you're a victim of certain type of mentality. You'll take that victim's mentality, and this is why I say it's important for you to take control of your life, because you'll have a victim mentality where you may feel like you know, you're not understanding certain situations, and that's a natural human response, but you try to make sense of a certain level of adversity. I don't want to get too deep in all of these words and all of this. The bottom line is you feel like you're victimized. You feel like you're victimized, and you have that kind of mindset, and you ask yourself that question, why me? Why are they doing this to me? Why do I have to go through this? Why, Lord, I'm praying, I'm fasting, I'm doing all the things that I'm supposed to do. Why me? You have to understand this. And I know if you listen to my podcast at any amount of time, you've heard me say this over and over and over again. It's about building capacity. A lot of times when you're thinking and you have that victim's mentality, wondering why things aren't moving for you, it's not just so much about the surrounding axillary things. It could just be your creator positioning you to be able to handle what it is that you desire. So you start searching for a certain meaning, when in actuality, the only thing the meaning means is you gotta be in that weight room, W-A-I-T. I talk about that a lot, right? You have to get your weight up, W-E-I-G-H-T, by depending upon your creator, by growing through your challenges, right? By positioning yourself to just handle any situation that comes your way. So when you're talking about why me and you're searching for a certain type of meaning, that could be a way to, you're seeking this meaning or understanding of a situation. But at the end of the day, a lot of times it's about self-reflection. It's about where are you? What are you doing? Or what are you not doing that have you feel stagnated, right? That have you feel stagnated. And then so now mentally you start to ask that question, well, why me? Why me? When you do a bit of self-reflection, it can kind of prompt you to, have a certain introspection or self-reflection. Again, I don't want to be throwing out all these words, but it forces you to just kind of look inward to say, what can I do? Or how can I encourage myself? Or how can I encourage other people to become better at what they are and who they are, just by my actions and by my strength, right? It would encourage people, even encourage yourself to evaluate your situation or evaluate their situation or their actions or choices. A lot of times, and this is the bad part of it, but what did you contribute to this situation to make you say, why me? If you did something crazy and there's a cause and effect, and now you say, why me? You're in jail, you locked up, you say, why me? Well, because you robbed the store. That's why you. So sometimes it's self-reflection from a standpoint is, what did you contribute to the situation, right? Now, mind you, I'm giving you all the problems first, the challenges, and then I'll kind of offer some thoughts as it relates to solutions. So when we get out of here, we're not focusing on the negative stuff. We're focusing on the solutions. Also, a part of the whole why me thought is to be able, sometimes you got to be able to express emotion. You got to be able to express emotion, whether that emotion is frustration, whether that emotion is sadness, whether that emotion is helplessness. You have to be able to express your emotions, because if you don't, you're going to internally ask yourself the question, why me? So the value of expressing your emotion is the fact that if you're doing that to your mentor, if you're doing that to your go-to person, remember we talked about that last week, if you're doing that to your spouse, your significant other, whoever it may be, then there may be some solutions offered up just based on you having that conversation. But don't harbor frustration, don't harbor sadness, don't harbor helplessness internally, because that's going to break you down. That's going to deteriorate the quality of your life. Okay. So expressing emotion is a way to vent or kind of convey that emotion, that emotional toll of a certain situation that is taking on you. And it kind of relieves that inward pressure. I think we talked about that last week, or a couple of weeks ago, that whole stress, that inward pressure. So just be aware of that. expressing that emotion, get that frustration out, sadness out, talk to somebody about it. It's very, very important. I can go on and on about the negative parts of, asking that question, why me? But I like to offer solutions. Now, my solutions aren't perfect. My, thoughts aren't perfect. The podcast is not perfect. I'm just kind of giving you the best that I have through my life's experiences. Sometimes people say, Sam, you go overboard, and I got to keep it real for my audience. It's like, I'm just keeping it real. I am who I am. I'm a country boy from Alabama. I've done all these things. I've seen all these things. I work with all these people. I talk to all these people. Well, I have to give you the benefit of the truth. And sometimes people don't like the truth. It kind of hurts, but that's how you heal, right? So I talk about all of these things with why me from a negative perspective. Let's kind of look at some solutions as we, get out of here tonight. But when you're talking about why me, I tend to think that take the posture of why not you? I've always been of a mindset that I am the one. And I don't mean that from an egotistical standpoint. I just mean that from a standpoint of, okay, this is what has happened, or this is what is happening. I've been dealt this hand. Now let me deal with it. You know what I mean? Let me deal with it, whatever it may be. So a lot of times you just have to seek meaning. You have to seek purpose behind whatever that question is. Focus on finding the meaning in your experiences, even the difficult experiences. Now, think about how you're having this mental shift from all of these negative things to now start to think, what's the meaning behind this particular experience, or what's the lesson to be learned behind this particular experience, even if it's a difficult experience. What I tend to do a lot of cases is I just have to rely on God to say, hey, you know what? There's something better, or there's something bigger, or there's a different type of purpose, or there's a meaning for me to help somebody else, or I'm not ready. I have to do that in order to maintain my sanity. And if you understanding your creator in terms of how that whole process works, then you have to, if you believe, you believe. Let's put it that way, right? If you believe, you believe. If you understand the word of God, then you understand the word of God. If that's the case, then you don't necessarily always have to seek a meaning and purpose. You just have to understand your creator. That it's just not time. So you don't want to fret or stress or have a cow over certain things because they're not going your way. Just understand the process of your creator. Explore how your challenges might be an opportunity for personal growth, or your challenges might be an opportunity for you to contribute to a greater purpose. You ever thought about that? You ever thought about that these challenges, because how can you relate to somebody that is going through something if you haven't gone through something? Right? So sometimes just being able to relate to somebody is because you've been able to go through some things yourself. You may have gone through some difficult times and you survived those. Well, now you can relate to someone else that's going through a similar challenge, and you can relate to them on that level. That's deep, right? So you focus on finding the meaning, but then you also want to, find out what the opportunity is for you to grow, personal growth, personal development, becoming a better you. Use that adversity that we talked about in terms of the challenges to do a self-reflection and becoming better yourself. Ask yourself, what can you learn from this situation? How can you grow from this situation? Hopefully you'll get that aha moment to say, you know what? Now I see how God is working in my life. I didn't understand it, Lord. I didn't understand it, but I do now. I see how you're working in my life, right? So many people are frustrated. So many people are disillusioned about so many things. But sometimes even when you're going through these things, you just have to embrace the idea that every experience, both positive and negative, can be a source of personal growth. can be a source of wisdom, can be a source of opportunity. My mentor, Dr. Miles Monroe, rest his soul. One of the things he told me, this is, I mean, I was, like we said in the hood, I was a youngin', right? I was a youngin', and this was one of the many times that I went to the Bahamas to seek wise counsel. And I kept talking about, I'll say, negative things or challenges. And after a while, he got to a point where he's like, every time you talk about these negative challenges, I see an opportunity. I see an opportunity. I see a business opportunity. I see an opportunity to grow. I see an opportunity to learn. I see an opportunity to empower. He would just kind of go down a list of every time I'm coming and saying something negative. By the way, I say that to you guys because he was one of the people that I could go to. That was my go-to person. So when I'm, at this point, when I'm kind of dealing with him as my mentor in a mentor-mentee relationship, I had been edified at the top of my game and what I was doing around the globe. I mean, top of the company, top of the industry, people, and just everything. Just like I'd had the highest level of edification and respect for my peers. But there was a lot of challenges that I was dealing with. So I had to go to my go-to person. And this is where I kind of, pardon the phrase, but this is where I went to spill my guts, right? To like, hey, look, yeah, I'm getting this edification, making a lot of money and all of these accolades and this, that, and thus, but man, this is whatever the negative thing was. And like I said, after a while, he just said, hey, everything you're saying, I see an opportunity. I see an opportunity for you to teach. I see an opportunity for you to grow. I see an opportunity for you to empower. I even see an opportunity for you to make money, create a business, anytime there's a challenge, there is an opportunity, some kind of way, shape, or form. And I that started to marinate in my spirit, right? Until I got it. I got it. And by the way, when when Dr. Monroe, I don't know if anybody had an opportunity to sit with him or speak with him or even hear his sermons or whatever, but he has a way that in that Caribbean accent to say certain things. It sounds like he's giving you a whipping, but he sounds like he's saying it in a brilliant way all at the same time. And I remember when I first started going to the Bahamas, and every time I would come through customs or anything like that, and they start asking these questions, I think I shared this with you guys, probably season 1. They start asking these questions and giving me a hard time. You know how sometimes customs and these people do. And I told Dr. Monroe this one time, and he said in his accent, I'm not going to try to mimic his accent. I barely can speak my own accent. But anyway, he was like, let them know the next time you land, you're coming to see me. And so I shared that the next time I was going through custom. Man, you can't believe how doors open and customs open and this open and this open. It's like this guy was running the whole of Bahamas. But anyway, I'm all off topic. I'm going down memory lane. The moral of that story is you want to, sometimes when you're talking about why me, you want to embrace the idea that no matter what the experience is, like I said, whether it's a positive experience or a negative experience, that can be an opportunity for you to have personal growth, personal development, wisdom, all those things that I just shared, even a business opportunity. All right. And then also sometimes you have to just accept that life is full of uncertainties. Life is full of challenges, and not everything can be explained. There are a lot of problems. I think I mentioned this on the podcast, but good friend of mine, Pastor Jeff Landrum, he also has a podcast every Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern on One Voice Radio. It's called Changing Faces Ministries Podcast. And I can't remember if it was the podcast or it was one of his sermons, but he shared something on that service that I did not know. And I can hear him say, yeah, you don't know because you don't come to Bible study. But anyway, need I digress? But he said something that's somewhere in the Bible that It's like you're supposed to have problems. I didn't know that. It's like in the Bible, it says something to the effect, I don't know the scripture, I don't know any of that, but I remember hearing him say this, and I'm like, OMG. He's like, somewhere in the Bible, it's like it's preordained that you're gonna have problems. I'm like, oh my goodness. And that was the first time I heard that. Literally. Y'all go back and listen to Changing Faces Ministry podcast. I'm sure it's on one of the recent ones, because this had to be a few weeks ago. But my point is, that was an aha moment for me, because a lot of times when I'm dealing with challenge, I call them challenges. Y'all call them problems. I call them challenges. My mind doesn't register problems. It always registers challenges. So if you hear me kind of intertwine those words, that's why it's difficult for me even to say the word problem. It's a challenge. But anyway, I was always thinking that these challenges would come in my life because there are things that I may be doing wrong or not doing, or I am doing, or whatever, not understanding just from a biblical standpoint, that you're just going to have those problems. You're going to have those problems. Now I got to research and I do need to kind of study up on that some myself, so I can understand it even more. But Jeff Landry is one of the people that, from a word standpoint, from a pastor or minister, he could just tell me whatever he tell me, I'm gonna listen to it. Some of these other shady shyster ministers, pastors, I ain't listening to y'all. I ain't following y'all across the street. I'm just telling you, I'm keeping it real. Some of y'all ain't follow y'all across the street. Y'all dirty old pastors. Y'all ain't doing nothing. Some of y'all. But when Jeff Landrum said, I don't have to look it up. I'm gonna go and do what I'm supposed to do. And that's one of those things. Again, let me get back on message, because sometimes I tend to kind of go there. I hear my sisters since my mama went to glory, I hear my sisters, Lisa and Carol, like, don't do it, don't say it. I hear Samira Akbar saying, nope, don't say it. Dorothy Mercadale, like, don't say it, don't go there, just get back on topic. I got some people, these women in my lives, sisters, business partners, associates, they do a great job of keeping me focused, because I have a tendency to sometimes, I have a lot of stuff that's like stored up in me, because I see so much stuff that's going on, that I wish people could see what I see. They would treat life totally differently, right? And sometimes that stuff just starts to kind of ooze out of my body. But I've been working hard this year to just control myself. I ain't been cussing, you know what I mean? I ain't been going off as much. So I'm a work in progress. So, but every now and then that toothpaste try to ooze out of the tube, and I have to try to put it back in there. But all seriousness though, at the end of the day, we have to look at these why me questions, why me moments, as opportunities to grow, as opportunities to fulfill somebody else, as opportunities to build a business, create a lifestyle. Accept the fact that life is just full of uncertainties. Life has been biblically ordained to have problems and challenges. Everything doesn't have an explanation, right? It just is what it is. And so what you have to do, you have to build resilience. You have to build strength by learning to adapt to the difficult situations so that you can bounce back from any setbacks. That means you have to personally grow, right? You have to build that armor. You have to build that strength, that resilience, by learning how to adapt to these situations, bounce back from them. A setback is just a setup for a comeback. And you have to be prepared for that and understand that. And then now you get to a point where refrain from asking that question, why me, to asking this question, what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? Y'all need to write that part down. So because I'm going to say it again and I'm going to get out of here. So when you start to ask yourself that question, why me? Shout out to Linda Johnson, because I know you're writing this stuff down, and I know we're going to hear it again on our One Voice training, that holding room. It's a beast. So I shout out Linda Johnson. I know you're writing this down. But when you start to ask yourself that question, why me? Change that question to, what can I learn from this? When you start to ask yourself that question, why me? Change the question to how can I grow from this? Focus on the opportunities and the silver linings that may emerge from that particular adversity. That's how you're going to maintain peace. That's how you're going to maintain sanity throughout all of these things. And then give gratitude. I've said this over and over, but gratitude is one of the keys, one of the secrets of how champions become champions. Gratitude. So practice gratitude by acknowledging the positive aspects of your life, the positive things that are going on in your life, even during challenging times. You acknowledge and be grateful for the positive things, and don't always allow the negative stuff to circumvent the positive stuff. Cultivate an attitude of appreciation. Appreciate the things that you have. You may say, I want this new fancy brand new house and this brand new car. Appreciate the fact that you got a roof over your head. You got a car. It may not be the one you want, may not be the house you want, but you got a roof over your head. You got food in your belly. You got a car to drive. Be grateful for that as you build toward the excess, right? That overflow. That's going to be important when you're asking, why me? You know how many people that asking the question, why me, that got a roof over your head and you got food in your stomach, and you got a car, you got a job, you know what I mean? And you're still asking, why me? You have to think about some of the other people who may not have it as good as you do, or as good as you have it, and find the positive about where you are. Okay. So we're going to get out of here, but I just want to kind of put a bow on this topic. I know I've kind of been all over the place because, sometimes again, just sitting down and talking to you guys, it just off from the cuff and from the heart. It can be a bit difficult, but at the end of the day, hopefully you get something out of what, my intent was in terms of the why me notion, the bad, and then the good. And at the end of the day, I would ask people to just, rely on your faith, rely on your spirituality. For those of you who have religious beliefs, for those of you who have spiritual beliefs, turning to your faith and turning to your spirituality can provide a sense of peace, a sense of solace, a sense of guidance when things are uncertain. When you start to ask that question, why me, right? If you believe, if you have spiritual beliefs, if you have religious beliefs, then turning to those notions of faith, those notions of spirituality, that can give you that solace that you may need. Because if you're in the word and you understand the word, then you should have the answer to that question, why me? And then once you have that answer, that's going to give you guidance in a time of uncertainty. All right. So connecting with your beliefs can offer that sense of purpose that I talked about, that sense of strength that I talked about. So make sure that you keep that in mind as you go forward. So with that, guys, hey, look, I know I talked about a lot. I know I rambled all over the place, but this is one of those topics where it is a very, very broad topic, but hopefully you receive some of the information that I wanted to share with you in the manner that I wanted to share that from a solution, position of solutions. All right. So thank you for bearing with me on this particular episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, download, and share. Make sure you talk to some people. Talk to some people and talk to some people about talking to some people. All right. There are a lot of podcasts, by the way, out there. Let me just say this really, really, really quickly. I'll give me like 30 more seconds before y'all disconnect. But on every Wednesday at noon Eastern time, that's 11 Central time, right here on One Voice Radio. If you're tuning into the radio, that's onevoiceradio.com. We have a talk show / podcast called The Buzz. The ladies of The Buzz, Carol and Carmela, they are off the chain. They are some of the hottest talk show hosts in the industry right now. Sought after, high demand, high energy, building incredible numbers on TikTok. Go take a look at The Buzz Talk Show. The website, I think it's the buzztalkshow.com or the buzz.com. I think it's the buzz.com talk show. Either way, search the Buzz with Kara and Carmela. They're on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all these things. And support that podcast. If you have any excuse me, any events coming up, you need the hype machine. They're the hype machine. They got these TikTok things that are like they off the chain, man. They got thousands of followers now. And if you want to grow your numbers, you want to get in contact with the Buzz. Their email is the buzztalk411@gmail.com. The buzztalk411@gmail.com. Contact these ladies if you need hosting, if you need to build your TikTok numbers, if you want to just get out there. They are social media geniuses. So check them out. I mentioned to you about Fridays at 9 a.m. Changing Faces Ministries podcast with Pastor Jeff Landrum. That's another one. ChangingFacesMinistries.com. Check that out. Incredibly diverse faith and spirituality, knowledge, expertise. We have another podcast that's on hiatus right now, but that's going to be coming back soon. And that's Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette. That's every Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This guy has so much, he's funny. It's all outdoors. He's funny, but he has so much wisdom, so much knowledge. I mean, he's coming at you from a standpoint of just 100% expertise in his area. When he comes back with his next season, I think he'll be launching season 4 sometime soon. But when he comes back, you definitely want to look out for not the deep dive, but Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette. That podcast is off the chain. And we have some other podcasts that, I don't promote them as much because of confidentiality and the genres that they're, participating in. I don't want no cussing on this radio station. That's what I'm trying to say. So I ain't promoting them. Y'all just have to find them. If they can do what they want to do. They got great numbers. They're on the radio station, but I can't have that cussing. And if I can't cuss, y'all can't cuss. All right. I mean, you can cuss, but I can't promote it because I get in trouble. So anyway, and then soon, I know we've been saying this for a while, but there's whispers that Mr. Robert Mabry, he's right around the corner. Y'all, he said when God say go, he ready to go. So it could be any moment. But so support all of the podcasts, guys. Support us. And we're going to support you. If you want to get your own podcast, hit us up. My email is info@thedeepdivepodcast.live. Hit us up. Go to the website and you can leave a voicemail. You can leave a voicemail at my website, thedeepdivepodcast.live. You can leave a voice message if you want to as well. All right, so let's get out of here. The night is long, and I know everybody have other things to do. So thank you for joining me on this particular episode of the Deep Dive Podcast. God bless each and every one of you, and I'll see you on the beaches of the world.